Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Traumaplicity podcast with your host, Dr. Amanda Helman, author, breakthrough coach, and speaker. It's so great to see all of you or hear all of you, or you're hearing us this week. And we really look at traumaplicity. And you say, what is that? Trauma plus simplicity, thinking of simple steps to help our brain know that it's okay to move forward and heal. And so we want to look at that even when we have different complexities with trauma. And so with that, we have amazing guests who share about their story, share tips that will help you, and then they look at giving you some words of encouragement in your journey. And so thank you all for tuning in. As you know, this will happen every week. And tonight's guest is Manna Abraham. And it's so nice to have her. She's a trauma expert, and she's going to just continue and share part of her trauma story. So it's great to have you here.
Thank you, Amanda. All right. So I think starting on with my trauma story, the first thing is we never know it's a trauma.
Mhm.
We only know it's stopping us in some form and there's an obstacle. And I think when I lost my mom when I was 2, which is absolutely a memory that I don't even have in my field. So I think that's the very first one that I'm consciously aware of, that it's then I lost my mom with them really too. I didn't know anything, and it was a fire accident. So, and it's only the first thing that happened was maybe when I was 6 or 7. I remember my grandparents and my father saying that for 6 to 8 months I was freaking out, even just watching a candle or a lamp wick, and that really worried me. They worried them. So, and I said I never have any memory of that 6 months or 7 months that I was really scared of, just light. And then after that, there was an abuse in my teenage years. And then I thought it's just part of life, because where I come from India. So where I come from, it's like it's something that you take it for granted, while it's an absolute violation, even just touching you here. So, but over there, because I didn't have any voice, it was an abuse, and all I had to do is I'll just escape. So I had to leave everything behind. So this escaping and moving away and running away from things is part of trauma that we never know, we never realize. And then from there comes extreme independence of wanting to live on my own, not seeking any help, want to make a mark. And they're all camouflaged as traits of success and achievement and independence. But the truth is, it is stemming from those traumatic memories that you have to somehow survive. You have to live. You lost your mom. You're in an accident. So they're all the traumatic memories that have been acting. And after that, when I moved to another state for my education, and then I had to witness tsunami. So, and then I was almost like maybe less than a kilometer away from this big wave. And literally, when I was away and when I'm coming back, I had to experience the death all of a sudden. And then, morning, I'm going to give this exam, aspiring for a future. And you come in the afternoon and you can see this sudden end of everything that people aspired for. But we just take it away as again as a sign of resilience, that we move on and then we just leave. And then I had to leave that state that night. But however, incident after incident, so it did help me. The trauma did help me in many ways, because that is independence, that is self-reliance, resilience, and strength of character, and the mettle. So that's how you become an overachiever, and success comes to you. You make lots of money. So in short, that was the story of my trauma. And it took me a while to realize that it's my best friend, it's a magic, as well as it's the worst thing that can happen to you. But unless you calm down from the traumatic memories, and unless I calm down from this continuous go, 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 they never came up to the surface, these memories, those fears. And then what am I worried about? What is really my fear? And why should I be such a go-getter? Why should I be traveling around the world? And it's almost like, oh, the old school thinking is staying in a job for 10 years, 20 years. And then the modern thinking is keep growing by shifting jobs. But everything is backed up by The fear that you have to escape, you have to move away before you get familiar, because you will lose someone if you start loving someone. If someone gets to know you, then they'll take advantage of you. So can you see how these all memories frame that? So yeah, in short, but it takes that, it's almost like you have to really slow down and let the snowball to settle,
Mhm.
to allow the real stuff to come up. And yeah, as long as we don't allow that to settle, that will never come up. And we think that is our identity. So we don't even know we created a whole identity based on absolute subtle traumatic memories.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, and thank you for sharing that, and certainly about, even when you were younger, the loss of your mom, and then how you responded afterwards, even with those candles, and having that time, and how your family was like, oh, like what's going on here, but didn't quite have the language. And then even with the accident and all the other things that happened to you later, and learning how to perform, or learning how to we start getting those beliefs that you sort of talked about, like I have to perform, I have to do XYZ, and it's part of our responses. So we end up, as you mentioned, having this identity all around how we responded and how we thought we needed to respond. And the important part is sitting down, and when we actually are feeling it, which is what you're sharing, actually being able to take that time, which sometimes we don't realize we need. So thank you for sharing your story. And then going into the strategies, you talked about some, but what are 3 to 5 strategies that help people as they go through the trauma?
Yeah, all right. So I think I can only go from my experience of working with people as well as with myself. The first thing is to understand if you're feeling compelled to do something, or if you're feeling compelled to prove, or if you're feeling compelled to look somewhere, or to look a particular way to the outside world or to yourself, that's the first indicator that you're being compelled.
Mhm.
And that's pretty much a memory that you're working on. That's number one. So the
Mhm.
key is every time, even at workplace, when you're thinking, oh, I have to be so and so to get that promotion, or I have to build my career, or if you're experiencing, I'll miss this opportunity, those are all the symptoms that they're saying that you're held by a traumatic memory. So the key is to observe that in all the busyness, or even wanting to be a good mom, or wanting to give proper breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and feeling compelled to do that way because that's what is required. So if you're having those, they look very rational. They're not irrational at all. They're very rational thoughts, but they're compelling thoughts. When they are compelling, then that's the first indicator that that's a compelling thought, and take step
Mhm.
back from it and really ask, why am I doing this and what is happening to me here? So
Mhm.
only when we do that, the second strategy, which I personally experienced myself, and that's how actually everything I built, my entire system is built on that. I had this huge fear of snakes.
Mhm.
And when I had this huge fear of snakes, and I had no one to approach, and I couldn't sleep, but snakes, and that thoughts of snakes when I close my eyes is my way of staying awake, so no one disturbs me in the night and no one comes to touch me in the nights.
Mhm.
So my mind already created this image of something fearful so that I don't sleep in the night, because my mind is worried something may happen in the night to me, and if I fell asleep, that's not good for me. So I observed that. But till that point of time, we are working. So I did NLP in the past, I did hypnosis in the past, but it's not about that really. It's not about the modality or a technique. It's truly about, I understood that the snake is not a problem. It's only a metaphor of my mind to keep me awake. So, when you have any irrational or rational fears, please don't go into phobia cures or phobia, because it's a way that your mind is protecting you. So, genuinely, you will think it can be a harmful animal, or it can be a height that you're scared of falling, but it's actually not that. It's this, there's a secondary gain, there's another fear that's underlying. So, if you have any irrational fears, the key is to really reach out for help. and address it instead of just brushing it aside, like everybody is scared of a snake, or everybody is scared of, some of them are scared of heights. So don't brush away your
Mhm.
fears, don't brush away your rational or irrational fears. So compulsion, observe rational or irrational fears. And the third is start connecting to your body.
Mhm.
Because the first thing someone afflicted with trauma, the first thing they do is they disconnect with the body.
Mhm.
But the truth is, body and mind, they play such a major role, very major role, because we carry the biomemory. We carry, that's where the intergenerational trauma or the epigenetics, they play a role, because it's not just a memory of your experiences in this life. They are experiences of your parents or whoever that came to you through your DNA, or the biomemory, not necessarily your experience. So there is a biomemory, there is a physical memory. Biomemory is not in your control, but if you're feeling unnecessarily compelled or irrational fears, there is a role. So observe. And if it is a physical memory, you will only bring it up when, because it is so easy to disconnect with emotions, because emotions are not helping you. So you will disconnect with your body, and once you disconnect with your body, it looks like it is all in the head, but brain plays a very small role in these traumatic memories. So
Mhm.
observe and bring that awareness to your body and start connecting to your body. So it can be extreme obesity, or it can be absolutely being very thin and want to, you may go to the point of anorexia.
Mhm.
Both are playing a role because you're disconnecting with your body. So the
Mhm.
key is movement and start connecting with your body, and that happens in silence. So don't call it mindfulness or meditation if that does not suit you, but stay at least 5 to 10 minutes quiet every day to connect to your body and just observe. Yeah, so there will be my three things that
Mhm.
really help.
Well, thank you. And I love that, especially with the rational and compelling thoughts that you shared about the
Yeah.
compelling, like when it becomes so much greater, what's really going on. And as you
Mm.
mentioned, and throughout it, throughout this thread is observing, taking time, taking that 5 to 10 minutes of just allowing yourself to feel your body, to have movement, to have that connection, as well as really looking at reaching out for help. You shared that too, like reaching out to say, hey, I'm thinking this, or this is going on, because we really can't, we need each other. We're built for
Mm.
connection as well as having time for ourselves. And I love that you shared about the thoughts, because that rational, irrational thoughts are
Yeah.
are a big thing. And it is like, as you mentioned, even with like you're sleeping, well, what is going on at night? And I always say sometimes our brain really wants to process everything, and sometimes it's not able to, because we're constantly moving. So I love how you brought that together. And I'm sure this will help many people that are in the audience and listening. And so as we continue, we're really going into our audience. So there are people in our audience that perhaps they are just finally processing some traumas from their childhood, or perhaps they're having those rational or compelling thoughts that you talked about, or not quite sure what to do. And they're maybe hoping for, really wanting some hope. So, what are some words of encouragement that you would want to share with the audience?
Mm. Yeah. I think the key is to stop distracting yourself. Stop distract, because there are two types of people. Pretty much there are only two types of people in the world: people who are focused on doing, and people who are focused on thinking. So if you have a balance, that's really good, but dominantly doers and dominantly thinkers. So the doers distract themselves by finding more work, more things to do, just cleaning up the garage there, or just folding these clothes here, or cleaning up the kitchen. That's how they distract from facing their emotions. So stop distracting.
Mhm.
And the thinkers, they distract by stop doing things. That's where they can go into depression, they can go into anxiety, because the way they distract is they shut themselves down from doing, and they start thinking, which can be, thinking is neither good or bad, but it depends on how you use it.
Mhm.
So number one, stop distracting. So if you're naturally stepping into thinking, that means overanalyzing is part of thinking. That's the
Mhm.
flip side of it. So stop distracting yourself with doing or by thinking. and that can be potential conflict. So observe if you're having conflicts with your partner or with your kids, that they're not doing things the way you want, or they're not understanding. Perhaps you're already distracting yourself from your own memories, traumatic memories. And a person who is becoming an introvert is not a bad thing at all, because that's the most beautiful thing. But if you are irrationally becoming an introvert and brooding and moving into that space of isolating yourself, that's where you're stepping into this thinking mode. So observe that and don't get distracted by that. That's number one. Number
Mhm.
two is, please don't talk to everyone. Talk to someone who can help you.
Mhm.
That's very important, because the key is, I observed working with 4,200 hours, I put that there now, more than that. But
Mhm.
what I observed is, the emotion, it only takes really 90 seconds to leave your body, which is
Mhm.
very much evidenced. But everything else is your emotional loop and the story, and you have a secondary gain. So you don't want to do something, so you can choose to use this as an excuse, not you. Your mind will play the game. So the second thing is, your mind is your child. You are not your mind. You are not your body. Your mind is your child. So just as if you're taking your child to the school on the first day or giving them a new experience, what you tell them it's okay, you're going to be safe, keep moving on, keep going on, and they go on. So just because you're an adult, whether you're in 30s, 40s, or 70s, or 80s, doesn't matter. Your mind is your child, and start talking to the child as if like, it's okay, it's safe to move on, go on, do it. Nothing is going to. So just work with your mind as a child, and don't become one with your mind and body, because they are separate entities. That's number two. Third one I want to tell you is, if you're really ready to let go, you don't need to spend months and years, because it's proven again and again. It really takes one session to release the hold of your traumatic memory. It really takes about, that's about 60 to 9. It can be completely illogical when I'm saying this to you, but the truth is, it is evidenced again and again. It really takes 60 to 90 minutes to release that hold of traumatic memories. So if you are struggling for more than 1 year, or even for few more than 6 months, reach out to someone who can help, and don't distract yourself. I think these are the three things I would say: to observe and take action.
Great. Well, thank you. And certainly I love that you encouraged people and you talked about the doers versus the thinkers, and how the doers can do so much. And then we get distracted in that because we're moving, moving, moving. And the thinkers get overthink and shut down. And you said there's
Yeah.
a lot of depression, and sometimes having a balance between two is helpful. But again, right, as the brain is shifting. So I love that. And really sitting with it is really, I think, what you really hit home, is just allowing yourself to do that. And there are ways to, I agree with allowing the emotions to release. That's definitely a thing. And there's ways to do that and to reach out for help. So thank you so much for your time. This is wonderful to talk with you. Certainly, we will have all of your information about your website and who you are on the podcast. And so with that said, thank you so much for being here as a guest, Manna. And everybody in the audience, we have our Traumaplicity podcast every week. And certainly you have guests who have incredible backgrounds, expertise, trauma. Also, we all are humans, we all have some trauma, but we're here to say that there's hope, that there's different ways that can help you move ahead. So thank you again, and have a great night, everybody. Your voice and your message matters. Thank you.